Okay, the third thing I want to talk about in this video is how to find out if your module idea has been implemented already. Now, it's not an easy task, and it's one that gets overlooked, so much so that oftentimes modules get duplicated many times over, simply because it's hard to find an existing module that does what you need. It's hard to find out what to look for. So I want to give you some tips, a few things that you can do to at least minimize the chances that the code that you're creating has already been created by somebody else. I've added a short cheat sheet page to our tips.module file. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see it here. If we scroll up to the top at hook menu, you'll see that this is defined as duplicate, and we're using the function tips duplicate page. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this path and paste it into our address bar. And here we have it. We have just 3 items here. Now let's take a look at the source code while we're on this page and look at how it's rendered. So we're taking a tips array and we're adding 3 items to it. These correspond to the 3 tips on the page. And next, instead of going through a for each loop like we did with previous lists, what we're doing is imploding our array with an ending and starting list item tag, and then we're wrapping the missing starting list item tag and the missing ending list item tag, as well as the unordered list tags around that. So this will output, when we look at our page, just like this. Okay, so the first tip is to search on Google, but using the modifier site:drupal.org/project. Every module on Drupal.org exists in the project directory. So if we click on this, I'm going to open it up in a new tab. We see that we have site:drupal.org/project here. And if we wanted to do a search, for example, in one of our previous videos, we're building a history style module. So if we wanted to look for something that has to do with history, we could type in history and take a look and see if there's something that matches what we're building already. So we don't have to go further if it exists. So you can scroll down here, go through a few pages, and make sure that nothing exactly like what you're building exists. If there's something similar, then it could be that your module and an existing module could merge and provide some synergy there. Sometimes, though, it's good to have separate modules with similar but not identical functionality remain on their own development paths. But it's good to touch base with any module authors just to see what they think. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to our page. The next step would be to search on Drupal.org. Since Drupal.org uses its own search engine, its results are going to be a little different than Google. So, if you click this link, it will pre-fill the search form with example with modules selected already. So if we wanted to search for history, we could just select example here, type in history, and submit. And as you can see, some of these items are similar to what we saw on the first page of the Drupal.org search results, node history, but then it deviates a bit. So it's good to test both places and go through the first few pages, read about the module. You might find something that would be useful to you anyways. The third technique is a little more intense and requires some command line action. The idea is that you can download the entire module contrib repository, which does include thousands of modules, locally, and search through that using a command line utility tool called grep, which I mentioned earlier. So the way we do that is by using this CVS command statement. And you can just copy this and paste it in your terminal. So if you're using Mac, you can use terminal. If you're using Windows, you'll need to use something like PuTTY in order to get this same utility. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to jump over to terminal. And I'm going to paste it in. Now I'm already in a folder where I know I can download all of this. And even though it's a ton of files, it's not a huge amount of space that's required for this module directory. I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And it'll start downloading, starting with A's, and you'll see as it moves through the alphabet just how many modules exist at every letter If you need to stop this at any time, you realize, hey, this isn't exactly what I want to do. At least on a Mac, you can press Control-C and it'll abandon your connection. Once you have this folder, then you can use grep in order to search through what's there and find out if something matches up with the keyword that maybe matches up with your module. So since we're talking about the history module that we built in a previous video, let's go ahead and grep history. So I'm going to do grep, the word history, and I'm going to use a star to indicate that I want to search all files, and I'm going to pass a R parameter to go recursively throughout all of the files. If you scroll up this window, you'll see that we already have a lot of results, even though we downloaded just a very small portion of the modules that exist. If you look at the scroll bar here, for example, as I scroll, you'll see how slowly it moves. This means that history probably is too generic a term to give us a meaningful result set to go through. And this is where the power of grep really comes in handy, because you can use it with regular expressions. You can create a pattern that's more meaningful, that might be more similar to the meaning of history that you're looking for. For example, the word history next to the word user might bring a smaller set of results that you can actually work through.